much should you charge when you're first starting your bookkeeping business? Go too high and new clients might walk away. Charge too low and you could attract the wrong clients that burn you out right away. This is exactly the question that Elizabeth asked. She is a member of our community, and I recently had a call with her, and she gave me 3 to 4 questions that I ended up creating all these videos for. They are really good questions that I know many of you have, and my answer to her questions will benefit a lot of you. This question right here about how much you should charge when you're first starting out is a nerve-wracking question that many of you have in the beginning. So let's talk about how to confidently set your prices without second-guessing yourself. Hey there, I'm Veronica Sagastumi, and this is the Bookkeeping Shop. I am a degreed accountant with over 30 years of experience in accounting, finance, and operations, as well as consulting. I started my own bookkeeping and accounting business back in 2011 and grew it from a solo practice into a team where now we serve VC-funded startups here in the Silicon Valley, but the team is remote and we are 100% a remote bookkeeping and accounting practice. Now I help new bookkeepers and professionals to start and run a profitable and flexible business that they actually enjoy running, whether you're working from home or on the go. All right, let's keep going with today's topic. Pricing can feel tricky at first, but the key is to base your pricing on data, not guesswork. When I talk about gathering information, I'm calling this step my intake questionnaire process. I typically send the intake questionnaire immediately after I've had a discovery call with a prospect and before I send a proposal. The responses that the prospect gives me to my intake questionnaire, that helps me confirm their needs, especially the ones that we discussed during the discovery call. Their responses also clarify the scope of work. And based on their responses and that data that they're providing me with, I can then proceed to prepare a proposal that will reflect the actual work that will be involved in serving this client, whether it's a catch-up, a cleanup, or a monthly recurring service. The intake questionnaire serves the same purpose. Inside my Kickstart Your Bookkeeping Business bundle, I include a customizable version of the intake questionnaire so that you can use the same process with your own prospects and clients. I will leave a link to that bundle in the description of this video. You can check it out whenever you're ready. Now let's take a look at the kind of details that I gather to shape the proposal. Before quoting anything, use an intake questionnaire or a discovery call checklist to learn things like how many accounts do they have, including all like checking, savings, credit cards, merchant accounts, the average number of monthly transactions. They can combine them all, or you could separate them by bills, invoices, checks, credit card charges. You just want to gauge the volume. Ask if they have payroll, contractor payments, inventory, sales tax. And of course, you want to ask the condition of their current books. When was the last time those bank accounts were reconciled? What was the last tax year that they filed income tax returns for? How many employees do they have? How many contractors do they have business with? How many customers? How many vendors? These are all questions that are data gathering so that you can then prepare a proposal with your fee. All of these questions reveal both complexity and volume because the service will be a lot easier if they don't have any payroll and if they only have one bank account, one business checking account, and one savings account. Very different than the one that has 2 business checking accounts and a merchant account and savings and 2 credit cards and employees. You see what I'm saying? This is your opportunity to do the data gathering that you need in order to gauge how much time it will take to deliver the service and for you to then price accordingly. In the very beginning, you may want to give them a break, but in your contract, you should have language that limits that promotional fee. Their answers to your intake questionnaire is what you should base your pricing on. Once you understand their workload, it's time for you to decide how you will actually charge, if it's going to be hourly or value-based. We're going to briefly talk about this next, but I will link to a video that I recorded where I go in a lot more detail about how to come up with your pricing strategy. So let's talk about this. If you're just starting out, you to start with an hourly based rate. No one is telling you not to. I recommend the value-based, but we'll talk about that in a moment. You review the intake questionnaire. You gauge about how many hours it may take you to deliver that type of service. Include a few additional hours because things happen. There's maybe back and forth because you have incomplete records. You may have some clarifying questions. You want to make sure that your time is covered in the proposal. That hourly rate in the beginning, it gives you some flexibility while you're learning how long it takes you to do certain things. And remember, in the beginning, it may take you longer because you're setting things up, you're reviewing, you're double checking. And as time goes by, you do get faster. And so that's when I say, when you are charging hourly and you become faster, more efficient, and you come up with all these different checks and balances and faster ways to do things, then you start to get penalized. But in the beginning, it is okay for you to start with an hourly rate based on the number of hours that you believe it will take you to deliver that service. I strongly recommend that you move into value-based pricing, where you're going to charge for the outcome, not just the hours. That's where you can come up with a fixed price based on the package, but you're still going to be calculating that based on the intake questions that you send that they respond to. Data gathering, right? You're going to be coming up with a fixed price to, let's say you're reconciling one checking, one saving, one credit card, and that there's like maybe 10 to 20 customer invoices and maybe you're applying payments for 30 vendors. So you gauge how long does it take, especially if you automate and streamline some of these tasks. How long do you think it's going to take? And then you always buffer in a few additional hours. There's always something that comes up, something happens, and you don't want to start being in a deficit, in the negative, where you're spending so many more hours than you should be getting compensated for. You're still going to come up with some sort of rate that you're basing these hours on, but then you're telling the client, hey, I believe that for what you need, we're going to deliver, focus on the deliverables. We're going to close your books. We're going to reconcile your accounts. We're going to give you a walkthrough video. You're going to have a monthly financial package that we deliver, which is basically the financial statements with a little video walkthrough, which is what I recommend. So you're focusing on the outcome and you're going to emphasize that they're going to get all of this in a timely manner. That is what gives your client peace of mind that all of their books is going to get taken care of. They're going to have financials that they can look at, review, and make decisions about their business going forward. And I just want to give you one more example because a simple set of books is a lot different than messy. For example, reconciling 10 accounts for messy books that haven't been reconciled in months is something that's going to take you longer than the monthly recurring, been kept up kind of books. And so you need to focus on delivering the message to the client. I can get it all caught up. I can reconcile that for you. And once we do, we'll have better processes. We'll be timely. You're not going to fall so far behind, and just emphasize on the outcome. And based on that, you can still calculate, hey, if they have 10 bank accounts and they haven't been reconciled for the past 3 months, I believe that it may take me, you have to do some math, come up with your rate, and then come up with a little bit of a buffer in there, not more than a couple, 2-3 hours, to deal with things that you may need to follow up on, get clarification on, or troubleshoot. And so for all of that, you come up with a fixed price, and that is your value-based pricing. That's going to look very different than the value-based pricing for clean books that you're just maintaining. And again, I will link to that video where I walk you through these 2 different strategies. Now let's talk about how to find that balance where your price feels fair, confident, and it still attracts the right client. It is true that if you charge too low, you will attract clients who undervalue your service, your work. They don't respect your time and constantly push for discounts. We all have those types of clients at some point. I'm trying to give you some guidance to avoid those. But if you go too high without context, it could scare some of your prospects away from converting to clients. That is why your price should always connect back to your services, scope, and value, the result, what it gives them beyond just the tangible closing of the books and reconciled accounts. I want you to think about the full financial package that you are delivering to your client every single month, not just these individual busy tasks. Yes, you are providing bank reconciliations, reports, and insight that helps your clients stay tax ready, but you're also giving them information that they need in order to help them make smart business decisions about their business, and giving them that peace of mind that things are being taken care of in a timely manner. For those first few clients, it is okay to start with that hourly rate. It will help you to gauge how long it takes you to perform those tasks so that later you don't even have to start with the hourly rate. You will just move right into the value-based pricing. Use your intake questionnaire responses to come up with a number of hours to then multiply times a reasonable rate. Depending on Your skill level or what you want to start out with could be 35 an hour, 40 an hour, 45 an hour. Keep the math and the language simple so that your clients can easily understand what they are paying for and why. As you gain more experience, you can always revisit and renegotiate your pricing based on the value and time you're truly providing. You might say something like, based on the number of accounts and the volume of transactions and the financial package we deliver each month, your monthly fee would be $400, as an example. That covers full reconciliations, monthly reports, a monthly video walkthrough of the performance of your financials, and a quarterly review meeting to help you stay tax ready. Positioning it like this helps your clients to know what they are paying for and why. I think I've talked about this before, but my first cleanup project, I completely underestimated how long the project was going to take, how big of a project it was, and I undercharged for sure. I quoted what I thought was a fair price because I did it based on a conversation that I had with the prospect, and unfortunately, they were not completely forthcoming with me. And so it wasn't until after, when I had already quoted the project based on the information that they had given me, that I realized I had taken a 2 to 3 month project for the price of a weekend job. That was my fault. I learned quickly. I'm trying to get you to also avoid that trap. That experience taught me the value of clarity. Now, every proposal that I send, every single one, is based on actual data and client scope of work. What do they expect? It's not guesswork. And I promise you, that has made all the difference in feeling like I'm not stuck or I'm not resentful that I undercharged and that it's taken so much more of my time. I have learned to ask a lot more questions during that initial discovery phase so that when the proposal comes, the scope of work, the proposed fee, and also some language that if we believe that the scope of work is significantly changing because of whether it's growing or maybe scaling back, that we need to revisit not only the scope of work, what they actually need, but the fee as well. It's not always going to go up. I've had some clients that decided to scale back. And so whatever we were doing for them it took less time, so their fee went down. It's not always about increasing the fee. If you're finding this video helpful, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps more bookkeepers find the videos. And if you subscribe, you won't miss any future videos that I publish. So how much should you charge when you're first starting out your bookkeeping business? That was our big question. And as you can see, there is no one size fits all. Go too high and your clients might walk away. Charge too low and you'll attract the wrong clients and burn out fast. The key is to set your rates based on data, not fear. Use your intake questionnaire to define the volume and complexity of the scope of the work. Then connect your pricing strategy to the ultimate value that you are delivering to the client. As you grow, you will build confidence in quoting your pricing and learn how to position your pricing as part of the value that you bring. Elizabeth, thank you again for asking such a great question. I know that many of you probably have the same question, and I hope that you got some value out of today's video. And speaking of which, I'm answering another question from one of our community members. What are the must-have tools to start your bookkeeping business? You will definitely want to watch that one next because I'm going to help you to simplify your setup and save you money when you're first starting out. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Veronica Sagastumi. Until next time, bye for now.